Respected elders, educationists, teachers, and dear students, welcome. In this class, we are going to see about relative classes, part 3. In this class, we are going to see how relative classes are constructed in cleft sentences. Secondly, how an infinitive can replace a relative class, defining relative class, and why a present participle could replace a defining relative class. These three things we are going to see in this class, but these three things are quite necessary. Without these things, who can neither speak nor write English grammatically. So, give your entire attention to this class. English grammar, relative class, part 3. Live 293, I mean 294, date 27 8 2024. Relative classes, part 3. Defining relative classes. First, cleft sentences. See how a cleft sentence is framed. And in the construction, that is, it plus be plus noun or pronoun plus defining relative class. In this construction, how we have to use who and that relative pronouns. Where and when we should use the two relative pronouns who and that. Let us see first. Let us see the example. That is, when the relative pronoun, when the subject used is a proper noun, when the subject is a proper noun, there we can use either who or that. But that is more used than who. Even though the subject is a proper noun, there we can use either who or that, the pronouns. But that is mostly used. Let us see. It was Mohan who helped me, not Valan nor Molan. That is, only Mohan helped me. It was Mohan who helped me means only Mohan helped me. Another sentence, it was Meena that I saw. I saw only Meena and nobody else. It means I saw only Meena. My dear students, I have already explained to you. Note, when the object is a proper noun, when the object is a proper noun, it is Mohan and Meena object. See, Mohan and Meena object. When the object is a proper noun, that is more useful than who. That is in the cleft sentence, when the object is a proper noun, that is more useful than who. Secondly, see, when the object is not a proper noun, where we should use only that. We should use the pronoun that only. That we should not use who. With all other objects, that is the correct form. Example, it is the manager that we want to see, not assistant. That is, we want to see only the manager. It is the manager that we want to see means we want to see only the manager. Then another example. It was wine that we ordered, not beer. It was wine that we ordered means we ordered only wine. It was wine we ordered means we ordered only wine or we ordered wine only. Third, that is useful for non-personal subjects. That is, when the object is a proper noun, who can use either who or that. But mostly that is more useful than who. In other places, when the object is not a proper noun, we should use that as the object. Thirdly, when when the subject is a non-personal one, when the subject is a non-personal one, when the subject does not represent a particular person or thing or a place, there we should use that as the pronoun. That is useful for non-personal subjects. Useful it is. It is speed that causes accidents, not bird roads. It is speed causes accidents, not the road. So, my dear students, in the first example, we will see the rules. When the clubbed sentence is having the form it plus be plus noun or pronoun plus classes, what are the rules to frame the sentences? I mean, relative class, defining relative class. When the subject, when the object is a proper noun, who can use either who or that. Both the relative pronouns can be used, but that is more useful than who. In other places, that is when the object is not a proper noun, that the pronoun that alone should be used as the subject. Thirdly, in the collective sentence, when the subject is a non-personal one, when the subject is a non-personal one, there that alone should be used as the subject. These are the three things we will see. Then, secondly, my dear students, who can use infinitive and participles to replace a defining relative class. Using infinitive or present participle, who can replace a defining relative class. First, we are going to see what are the rules to replace a defining relative class using infinitive. Let us see. After the first, second, after the last only, and sometimes after superlatives. That is, who can replace the defining relative class by an infinitive when the relative class is preceded, when the relative class follows the first, second, etc. The last are only, and sometimes after the superlative degrees. After the first or second or after the last or only or after some relative classes, who can replace the relative class by the infinitive. What is infinitive? Infinitive is nothing. Two plus present verb. Two plus present verb is called infinitive. That is all. Let's see. This is the first rule. See, the last man who leaves the office is Pondian. The last man to leave the office is Pontian. That is, who lives is the class. It has been replaced by the infinitive to live. Who is replaced by to, and lives is replaced by the plain verb live. If in whatever the tense the verb in the relative class is, it should be reduced, it should be brought to the plain present verb. Plain present verb. So who lives has been replaced by to live. Other things are as they are. Second example, the only one that understands me is Kavida. That is, the only one to understand me is Kavida. That understands is replaced by to understand. That understand is replaced by to understand. This is the way. The last, the only. After the last, the second, the last only are some superlatives. We can replace the relative class using infinitive. Note here the object here, the infinitive has replaced the relative pronoun acting as an object. But students, you should bear it in mind. Here, the infinitives have replaced the relative pronouns acting only as objects, not subjects. Here, the infinitive replaces a subject relative pronoun plus verb. I'm sorry. Here, I am very, very sorry. That is, here the relative pronoun, the infinitive replaces only the relative pronouns acting as subjects, not objects. Only when the relative pronouns who are that act as a relative pronoun or as the subject, we could replace that relative class by an infinitive. But when they act, when the relative pronouns acts as objects, then we cannot replace that relative class, object relative class, using infinitive. Okay. Again, the last man who leaves, the obvious is Pondian. The last man to leave, the obvious is Pondian. Only one that understands me is Kavida. The only one to understand me is Kavida. Who lives to live. That understands to understand. Only here the infinitive replaces a subject relative pronoun. Subject is relative pronouns plus verb. Subject is a subject. And when the relative pronoun acts as relative, subject, it could not be used to replace an object relative pronoun. For example, the relative class that we saw in the following sentence cannot be replaced by an infinitive. See, look at this sentence. The first man that we saw was Kumar. Here, we cannot replace that. Definitely with that we saw cannot. We cannot replace this that we saw using to see, because here that functions as an object here that acts as a subject, but here that acts as an object. So here we can replace that using infinitive, but here we cannot, because it would be giving a different meaning. The first man that we saw was Kumar. Here, if you replace that we saw by to see, it would be having a completely different meaning. Yes. If we replace that we saw by to see, then the meaning would be entirely different. So the kind of construction is grammatically wrong. See, and also here is some exceptions. However, if the subjects, if that is the subject of a, if that is the subject of a passive verb, if an passive voice is used after that, there we can replace the relative class using infinitive. However, if that is the subject of a passive verb, we can replace the defining relative clause by a passive infinitive. For example, the first man that was seen was Valen. The first man that was seen was Valen. Here that is used as an object. The first man that was seen was Valen. I mean, that when the that is used when that is used as the subject of a passive verb, when that is used as the subject in ordinary verb, then that cannot be replaced by when it function as an object, it cannot be replaced. But when the object, if that is the subject of a passive verb, we can replace the defining relative class by a passive infinitive. You see, the first man that was seen was Valen. That is equal to the first man to be seen was Valen. Both the sentences have the same meaning. That is, in the first rules we were seen, that is when the infinitive can be used to replace the defining relative class when the subject when the relative class follows the first, second, the last, or only, or some superlative degrees. Where where when the relative pronoun acts as the subject, we can replace that relative class by an infinitive. But when the when the relative pronoun acts as an object, we cannot replace that using an infinitive. However, it has some other role. If the relative pronoun that or who is followed by a passive verb, is followed by a passive verb, it is passive form, then that relative class can be replaced by by an infinity using 2 plus passive verb. That is we have seen. That is this sentence. The first man that we saw was Kumar, cannot be replaced by the infinitive 2. But to see, it cannot be done. But here, the first man that was seen was Valen. It can be replaced because it is in passive voice. I mean, the verbs after the subject that are passive verbs was seen. So that was seen can be replaced by to be seen. That was seen to be seen. If this is infinitive, this is relative class. It is possible. So, firstly, what? See, in all these examples, who lives is equal to live. That understands is equal to understand. That was seen is equal to be seen. All these three, this is class, this is infinitives, but the meaning is the same, and we can construct English sentences using this form. That is, we can frame English sentences on either in speech or in writing. That using a relative clause or an infinitive equal to that. Secondly, where we can use infinitive, that is, when the infinitive has an idea of purpose or permission. When there is an idea of purpose or permission, who can use infinitive to replace a defining relative class. That is, when the relative class has an idea of purpose or permission, then that relative class can be replaced by an infinitive. You see, he has a lot of books that he must read. That he must reduce the relative class, defining relative class. Here, it is a cause. There is some reason. He has a lot of books that he must read. There are some reason, purpose. So it can be replaced. He must. That he must could be replaced by to to read. That he must read to read. That he must read to read. She had something that she should do. She had something that she should do is equal to she had something to do. That is that she should. These three these three phrases have been this phrase has been replaced by to. This class that she should has been replaced by or have been replaced by to. That she should do. Another, they need a garden they play in. Here there is no relative pronoun. This is you've already seen. Who can frame relative classes using who or that or which. Or without any relative pronoun, who can frame relative classes. So here, this sentence has been formed without a relative class, a relative pronoun. They need a garden they play in. Here, they is replaced by to play. That's all. So all these three sentences, this part that he must read is equal to read. That she should do is equal to do. They play in to play in. Meaning, see meaning of this construction and this construction are the same. This means this. This means this. This means this. This means this. That is, who can express an idea in a complex sentence, using a complex sentence in the form of a defining relative class, or who can express the same idea, same concept, using a simple sentence having an infinity. Note, here the infinitive replaces a verb plus relative pronoun as object. My dear students, in these sentences, that he must, that she should, they play. These all these relative classes are relative or objects of this sentence. Here, the relative pronouns are object. The classes are also object. So here, the infinitive has replaced an object class. You see, here the infinitive replaces a verb plus relative pronoun as object. An object class. The infinitive has replaced. So, regarding infinitive, where they can replace first, when I mean, example one, defining, the infinitive one, that is when the relative class follows the first, second, etc., at the last only, etc., are some superlative degrees. When the relative class follows the first, the last, so the superlative, etc., who can replace the relative class using infinity. But in this construction, You can replace the relative class using infinitive when the relative class when the relative pronouns acts as subjects. When the relative class and the relative pronouns acts as object, that cannot be replaced by the infinitive. However, when the subject follows a passive verb, when the subject when the subject is followed, when the subject is followed by a passive verb, then that kind of sentence can be reduced into a simple sentence, replacing relative class by infinitive. Then, secondly, regarding infinitive, what we have seen. Secondly, when the relative class has an idea of a purpose or permission, then that relative class can be reduced, can be replaced by an infinitive. It is there where the relative class can be reduced into a simple sentence using infinitive. All the three things we have seen. Then, lastly, today in today's class, we are going to see why we can use a present participle to replace a defining relative class. Present participle can be used to replace a relative class as follows. When the verb in the relative class is in continuous tense, that is, when the verb used in the relative class is a continuous tense, that relative class can be reduced to a simple sentence using infinitive. That is, that relative class can be replaced by an infinitive. When the verb used, when the relative class is the tense in the relative class is a continuous one. You see, when the verb in the relative class is in continuous tense, people who are waiting for the bus often shelter in my doorway is equal to people waiting who are waiting is replaced. That is, this class is replaced by the infinitive waiting. Who are waiting? Waiting. People who are waiting. People waiting. Who are waiting is equal to waiting. So what? The rule one for using present participle is when the tense in the relative class is a continuous tense. In any continuous way, present continuous, past continuous, future, in whatever the continuous tense, that can be replaced by an infinitive. Then secondly, habitual action. When the verb in the relative class expresses habitual or continuous action, who can replace the relative class by a participle? Here we are going to we are going to form the present participle from the verb in the relative class. From the verb used in the relative class is converted into a present participle. You see, passengers who travel on this bus buy their tickets in books. Passengers traveling. Here, passengers who travel relative class. Who travel relative class. Who travel is reduced to traveling. There is a present participle. Notice. See, what are the ways to form present participle? If the tense is in continuous, no problem. The main verb would be in present participle, so no problem. But if if the tense in the relative class is either a future or a simple present or a simple past, then we have to reduce the verb into its plain present form. Plain present form. But then we have to add either INC or as per the rules that we go already saying. That verb should be should be brought into the simple plain present form and add ing. You see, who that is who travel, traveling. Yeah. Then ask examples. A law which forbids the import. A law forbidding the import. Which forbidding. Which warns. A notice which warns people. A notice warning people. An advertisement which urges. An advertisement urging. That is clause present participle. Which forbids forbidding. Which warns warning. Which urges urging. But in meaning, this class and its present participle are the same when they are used in sentence, either formal or informal, spoken, either in written or in spoken. They have the same meaning. Thirdly, when a verb in the relative class expresses a wish, that is when the verb used in the relative class expresses a wish. That is the verb wish, want, desire, hope, etc. But not like. Wish, want, desire, hope, etc. When these verbs are used to express wish, what that who can use? Whether what that relative class can be replaced by a participle, a present participle. Let us say people who wish to go on the tour. People wishing to go on the tour. Who wish wishing. Students who hope getting first class. Students hoping getting first class. Who wish wishing. Who hope hoping. That is who wish wishing. Who hope hoping. That is when a word to represent a wish is used. That relative class can be reduced to can be replaced by its present participle. So, my dear students, where we can use and the present participle three. I have noted three occasions, three places. One, when the tense used in the relative class is a continuous tense. That can be that relative class can be replaced by present participle. Secondly, uh, when the word used when the relative class is used to represent a habitual or continuous action, then that relative class can be reduced into a simple sentence using its present participle. Thirdly, when the relative class, I mean, the verb in the relative class says a wish, I mean, represents a wish. That is the verbs. The verbs in the relative class represents a wish. That is the verbs wish, want, desire, hope, etc. But not like. Then that verb can be replaced. Then that relative class it can be replaced by its present participle. These are the things that we have seen. So, my dear students, we have seen very, 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 very important. Without relative classes, we could neither speak nor write English correctly, or we can't express the ideas. To express our ideas clearly, we have to use relative classes. Without relative classes, nothing would be either written or spoken. See, here we have seen, three items we have seen. There is first was cleft sentences with the form E plus B plus noun or pronoun plus relative classes. Here, when the subject, when the object is a proper noun. When the object is a proper noun, who can use either who or that. But that is mostly used. That is, see the sentence. That is, the last man who leaves the office is Pondian. The last man, I mean, I'm sorry, it was Mohan who kept me. That is, only Mohan kept me. It was Meena that I saw. I saw only Meena. That is here. When the object is a proper noun, where who can use either who or not, or who or that. But that is mostly used. And also, um, when the object is a proper noun, who can use either who or that. That is more used in all other places. When the object is not a proper noun, then we should use only that according to grammatical rules. There we should not use the who. But that is. Then, thirdly, and yes, that is, uh, when the subject, when the subject of the relative class is not personal, when the subject of the relative class is not personal, there we should use only that. We should not use who. This is recording the cleft sentences. Then recording the infinitives, secondly, recording the infinitives, when, when the relative clause follows the last, I mean the first, second, or the last only, or some superlative clause. When the relative clause follows this, the first, etc. There we can replace the relative clause using infinitive. But when the relative pronoun acts as a subject, the sentence, the relative clause in which the relative pronoun acts as the subject, who can replace that relative clause, that defining relative clause by an infinitive. But when the relative pronoun is used as functions as an object, there we cannot replace that object using infinitive. It would be giving different meaning. But however, when the subject is followed by a passive verb, if the subject is followed by a passive verb, then that sentence can be reduced, can be replaced using infinitive. The man, the man that was seen, the man that was seen is Kumar. The man to be seen, the man that was seen is Kumar. The man to be seen is Kumar. So get this. Then secondly, the infinitive. When the infinitive, when the relative class represents a purpose or permission, then there we can replace the relative class by an infinitive. It is yes. He has a lot of books that he must read. A second use. When the relative class represents an idea, an idea of purpose or permission, then there we can replace the relative class by an infinity. First, the first, the last, the superlative class can be replaced by an infinity. That will work. Then secondly, when the relative class has an idea of a purpose or permission, then that relative class can be replaced by an infinitive. That is, he has a lot of books to read. He has a lot of books to read. That is, there are a lot of books. There are a lot of books that he must read. You see, the sentence is he has a lot of books. There are a lot of books, or he has a lot of books that he must read. He has a lot of books that he must read. That purpose. He has a lot of books that he must read. That he must can be replaced by two. There are a lot of books that he must read. There are a lot of books there are a lot of books to read. He has a lot of books that he must read. He has a lot of books that he must read. Class, relative class. There are a lot of books. He has a lot of books to read. Infinite. So in two places, infinity can be used. Then where present participle can be used. Present participle can be used to replace the relative class in three occasions. One, when the tense in the relative class is a continuous one, that relative class can be replaced by a present participle. It is the people who are traveling in who are traveling on the bus. People who are traveling on the bus often shelter in my doorways. And of the people who are traveling on my bus often shelter in my doorways. Here, people who are traveling. It is within present participle, in present continuous. So, people who are traveling often people who are traveling on my bus often shelter on my in my doorways. People traveling who are traveling is reduced to traveling. People traveling on my bus often shelter in my doorways. So when the tense in the creative class is a continuous one. Then secondly, when the relative class represents a habitual action, then that relative class can be replaced by a present participle. The people who travel on my the people who travel on my bus buy tickets in books. People traveling. People who are traveling class. People traveling on my bus. People traveling on my bus. People who are traveling on my bus class. People traveling on my class. What's the present participle? These are the two. Then thirdly, when the to the set non-personal subjects. When the subject is a non-personal one, when the subject doesn't represent a particular thing, then the relative class can be replaced by a participle. That is, it is speed. It is speed that causes accidents, not the road. It is speed to cause. It is road. It is speed to cause accidents. You see, Yes. I mean, I'm sorry, the third use of or using the present participle, one is when the sentence is continuous sentence. When the relative class is in continuous tense. Then, when the relative class, when the relative class represents a habitual or a continuous action. Who travel, traveling, continuous action. Thirdly, when the verb in the relative class expresses a wish. When the verb in the relative class expresses a wish, there we can use. That is the verb when wish, want, desire, copy, etc. But not like. There we can replace that relative class by using its present participle. Thus we have seen, my dear students, again and again I request you, without relative classes, particularly defining relative classes, who can neither speak nor write English correctly without knowing this. What is a relative class? A relative class is nothing but it is a form of complex sentence. It is a kind of complex sentence. To express most of the ideas, either in formal English or informal English, we have to use relative classes. So learn it correctly. So in the place of relative classes, the defining relative classes, who can use either infinitive or present participle. That we will see in today's class. So have it carefully. So for three classes, recording relative classes, we will see three classes. And yet to some two or three more classes, you have to see. My dear students and my dear teachers, if you are unaware of it, learn it from it. If, during the time of giving you things, teaching you things, I myself, I am also learning. When I prepare things for you, I am learning myself many things. Where we have to use the relative pronouns, who and that, where we should not use that kind of doubts. We are getting rectified at the time of teaching you. So, my dear students, my dear teachers, and educationists, kindly hear about the grammatical factors that I am taking from many of the grammatical books, and I am giving it to you. So I thank all of you for listening my classes so far. Until I meet you in the next class, I wish all of you a very nice and sweet time. Thank you.